Hello students, so today I'll be explaining the area program from the solve exercise, that is question number 27. The program is to find the second maximum element of a matrix. So in the area program, previous area programs, we found the minimum element and the maximum element, or the minimum value and the maximum value in the array, right? So that was using the one dimensional. Now matrix, so the two using the two-dimensional array, that is the multi-dimensional array, it is in the form of a matrix, so it is in the form of a table where we have rows and columns. So this represents the row and this represents the column, so the data will be in the form of rows and columns. So we have seen that in string handling also, that is character arrays. So here this is an integer array, so which is a two-dimensional array. So here we are declaring an array of 2D, which is, this represents row and this represents column. So this is a 3 by 3 matrix. So here uh, we have 3 rows and we have 3 columns, that means. And then this max2, that is to store the second maximum or to display the second maximum, and we assume that max value is equals to 0. So initially max is assigned the value 0. So now cout, enter the array elements of 3 into 3 matrix. So for that we need nested for loop, since we have to, if you remember the multiplication table format, the multiplication table uh, also is in the form of rows and columns, right? 0 into 0, 0 into 1, like that. So similar output will also be printed out. So for that we need the nested for loop. So here I is 0, since array index starts with 0, so 0 1 2, right? So it will be 2 is less than 3, so by that time 3 array elements data will be entered. So similarly j is also 0. Now in nested for loop, always remember that the outer for loop initialization is done, then test the condition, and then the body of the outer for loop will be executed where the inner for loop is there. So the inner for loop will be executed first, and as long as the inner for loop is condition holds true, this inner for loop will keep on processing. Then once this becomes false, the test condition becomes false, I will get incremented, the outer for loop will get incremented, and this test will keep on continuing. So once the outer for loop test condition becomes false, the inner for loop will not be executed anymore, and then it will come out of this loop. So here this is just to enter the values into the array. So here I equal to 0, j equal to 0, that means matrix mat 0 0. So that means in the first array element mat 0 0, the value will be entered, okay? And in the second array element, that will be 0 and j becomes 1, right? 0 1. So that means first row second column, j represents the column, right? So first row second column, another value will be entered. First row third column, that is 2 is less than 3, so 2 is the third column, another value will be entered. Once j becomes false, this test condition becomes false, I will get incremented, and then I becomes 1, so that means 1 0. So that means I the second row, clear? So I equal to 0 represents the first row, I equal to 1 represents second row, and I equals to 2 represents the third row. Similarly j also, j0 represents first row, 1 represents second row, and j2 represents third row. So we have 3 into 3 matrix. So after the value is entered, again in the nested for loop, uh, all the values has to be tested to find out which one is the second maximum element, right? So for that we need the nested for loop, and in the inner for loop again this formula is executed. So if matrix ij, that is 0 0, greater than max, that is 0, alright, so max2 will store the value of max, that is 0 equals to max2, and then max will store the value of this number which is greater than 0, like that. So this loop will keep on continuing until all the values are tested, and then by that time you will see that the max value will be max will store the highest number, and max 2 will store the second highest number, because here you can see that max value is stored in max 2, and after that the the number which is greater than max is stored in max, right? So by this logic you can see that since the value entered from the array element is greater than max, and max value gets stored in max 2, obviously that means the greater number will be stored in max variable, and the second greater number will be stored in max 2. Clear? So this logics clearly explains that. So now if we run this program, enter the array element. Okay, so let's say I enter 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So you can see that the second maximum element of the matrix is 8, which is this. 9 is greater. So if you enter random values also, you'll get the second matrix. You'll get the second minimum maximum number. All right. So here I've just serially I've just entered the number, but if you enter any random numbers also, okay, you'll get the second maximum number output here. So just to make you understand even more, here I've done a dry run method. So suppose here I represents the row, this row. So I equals to 0, I equals to 1, I equals to 2. J represents this column. So in the first row, first column, 1 is entered. First row, second column, 2 is entered, 3 is entered, 4. So you can see that this is in a matrix format, right? So as in a tabular format. So that is what we that's why we need the nested for loop I and j. So here if you see this, max is initially assigned 0. So now I equals to 0, I is equal to 0, 0 is less than 3, true. Then j is equal to 0 and 0 is less than. So stepwise execution as per this. All right, here as per the formula. So if matrix ij, because I is 0 and j is also 0, right? So 0 0, what is stored in 0 0, which is 1. In 0 0, in 0 0 array element, 1 is stored, right? So 1 is greater than 0, yes. So max 2 will be assigned the value of max, which is 0, and then max equals to this value, that is 1, will be assigned, that is 0 0, right? So row 0, column 0, 1. Now j will get incremented and it becomes 1. So 1, right? So 1 is less than 3, then again 0 1, which is 0 1. So in 0 1, array 0 1, the number 2 value is stored. So 2 is greater than 1, which is true, right? Then the body of the if block will be executed. So max 2 will store the value of 1, and then max will store the value of 2, right? So once this becomes false, 3 is less than 3. Once this becomes false, the body of the inner for loop will not execute it, and that is the if block statement will not execute. After that, I will get incremented by 1. So 1 is less than 3. Again j loop will start from the beginning. So now matrix 1 0 equals to 4, which is what is the previous value of max? Max value was 3, right? So 4 is greater than 3, then max will be assigned 3. So you can see that the greater number is stored in max, and the second greater number is stored in max 2. So by the end of this truth table, you will see that here when I reaches 3 is less than 3, we will exit the for loop. By that time you can see that max value is 9, and then second max 2 is 8. All right, so go through this table format clearly. Okay, instead of this entering the number sequentially, you can enter any random number also. Okay, so try those methods. All right, so make some changes in the program and then see what kind of outputs you are getting. Okay.